What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of Swishful Thinking. We're here with the one, the only Vince Macaulay. Look at all that gold in the background, man. It's good, Lucas. How you doing, bro?
I'm right, man. I'm excited to speak to the coach of the Avengers of the BBL.
Jeez, Nick Fury right here. That's Nick Fury, you know.
No, I appreciate you stopping by, Vince. Honestly, he's probably a very busy guy, so yeah.
It's a pleasure to be here. I always say to people that we're here to engage and we're here to spread the word. I think too many people don't ask the right questions. Too many people don't want to talk. Too many people are too sensitive. We just got to get it out there.
Yeah, perfect. That's what we like to hear. Yeah, man. We'll get cracking. I mean, we've got the usual icebreaker, which we have a wheel. We've got some questions. The wheel spins, and we ask you the first icebreaker, and then we get into after that. So, Mo, you got the wheel there?
Yes, Vince. I need to pick a question with a number. Sorry, between 1 and 5.
If you need to pick a number, I'll pick 3.
3. Okay, cool. Question 3 is start one, bench one, cut one. Justin Robinson, Rod Brown, or Nigel Lloyd?
Ooh.
And Nigel Lloyd, sorry. You're going to start one, you're going to bench one, you're going to cut one.
Okay. You've been doing some research.
I'll say that one.
Right under the bus.
Lucas out here.
Okay. I like it. Oh, my goodness. Start one, bench one, cut. Oh, you are cruel.
Good luck, man.
Okay. Well, only on the basis that one of them out of the 3 wasn't an MVP. So I'm going to start Nigel. I'm going to bench Justin, and I'm going to have to cut Rod, my man. I love you, Rod. That was
good player. I knew you'd like that one. Yeah.
If everything goes like this, I'm going to love this.
Rod was a good player, man. We played against,
I love Rod Brown. Honestly, I love Rod Brown. He brought so much to that team that we had, and his professionalism. Oh my goodness! I mean, he loved to have fun. Anybody who was with us at that time, he loved to have fun. But when he was business, oh my goodness, he was business.
Yeah.
Love the guy, man.
Definitely.
Love the guy.
Yeah, cool. All right.
Well, that's the ice broken.
No, that's definitely the ice broken. But I think overall, we've got a few areas we want to discuss from your personal kind of background to the BBL itself, then obviously the Lions, and then a few things about youth development. I think we've got a pretty good range of stuff to discuss. But yeah, look forward to it.
No, I'm loving it. Please fire away. I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, sure. Just I guess starting off with a personal note for you. Did something prompt you to switch from kind of ownership to coaching, or was it just an organic thing, or what was behind that?
Do you mean over time, or how do you mean?
This year especially, you stepped away from that side completely, isn't it? Yeah. So maybe that's a better question. Kind of how did it develop over time from you being involved with the board stuff to just.
For me, obviously, you guys are young guys, and there's a lot of young guys listening to the show who won't be around. And when I was around as a player and things like that, I had a career as a player. But I was always frustrated that, we didn't have certain things in place within the game in England. It's like, oh, we haven't got this, or we haven't got that, we haven't got a team. A team that does this or a team that does that, And I just always found that if it needed to happen, I had to go and do it. And it kind of reminds me a little bit of what Kevin Cadle used to say. One of the things Kevin Cadle, we used to have Kevin come down to sessions every now and again, inspire the guys, talk to the guys. And anybody who knows Kevin will know, he always used to say, if it's to be, it's down to me.
Yeah.
He always used to say this. And I used to argue with him. I said, well, Kevin, it's a team game. And he's like, Vince, that's how it is. If it's to be, it's got to be down to you. So, and when I thought on it for some years, I realized that that's what I had actually been doing. Because obviously I played at Brixton, then I was playing at Tower Hamlets, and that's when we had the opportunity to join the BBL. So there wasn't a team in East London in the BBL. So I talked to the guys about that possibility, and they're like, "Wow, no, we don't want to do that. We'll be traveling." I'm like, "Man, we got to do it." So I created the London Docklands out of nothing, which went on to become the London Towers. And while I was there, before all the big money guys took over, it was the guys said, "Oh, let's sell the team. These guys want to buy, take us to Wembley, do this." I'm like, we want to do our own team because we want to create our own. Yeah. And they're like, no, let's sell. So I was outvoted. So I left and I went and set up in Hemel. So here I was again, creating it for myself. Because, I love the fact that when we were at Docklands, we had all English teams. The Scantlebury brothers, the Baker brothers, Andrew Bailey, all British team, Joe White coaching. So I wanted to keep that going. So at Hemel, I was able to now tap into some of the other guys from the other side of East London, like Keith Pringle and Tony Peltier, and people like this, Godfrey Blair. They were there playing for me. Jody John, Mike Carty. So, but I had this thing in my mind about what I really wanted was a basketball team that was half college and half NBA. And what I mean by that is, we can't bring the NBA to England. Let's say we can't bring the NBA to England because it's like taking the Premier League to the United States. But I love the fact that when you're in college, right, you could be, you're not supposed to get paid in college, right? So you can't make any money. What do you do for extra food? They'll send you down to the butcher's down the road and say, hey, his daughter used to be at the college. He'll give you all the food you need. They'll send you down to the car dealership. Fred's son used to be in the school. He'll give you the car. So all of a sudden, I love this idea of we're going to play at the highest level, but the community is going to support what we're trying to achieve. And so over my time at Hemel and Milton Keynes, I had hundreds of sponsors. I mean, Lucas, you remember one of our uniforms we had.
Yeah.
Hemel, you couldn't see the uniform but for the adverts. Right? So, and when our guys were in Milton Keynes, they couldn't spend whatever money we could pay them because the cinema was free. David Lloyd was free. Food was free. Everything was free. And that's how a community cares for his team. Yeah. Now, how does that relate to why I went on to coaching? Well, in between that, I then bring you, I mentioned Kevin Kettle, now I'll take you to Nigel Clough. Brian Clough at Nottingham Forest, who was always about winning, and he said to me, you've got to be in a position to win 50% of your games. You won't be able to be successful off the floor if you can't win 50% of your games. Yeah. So, and time and again, I've had coaches come and I've had coaches go, and sometimes be successful, sometimes will not be successful. And when I started to become successful was coaching in Milton Keynes when I fell out with Tom Hancock, my coach, my US coach at the time, who really disrespected the guys that we had, that were the all old guys, Windless, Youngblood, Griffin, all these older guys. Ronnie Baker was with us, and said that they couldn't achieve. And I took that team and we won the next year. So I thought to myself, well, now I've got a delicate balance between how do we become successful on the floor? How do we become successful off the floor? And I tried to kind of play that game and keep it going. When we came to London, I came back to coaching. If you remember in 2012, when we came back to Crystal Palace, mainly because I wanted, we were starting Crystal Palace from having not had a team there for a long time. So I felt like the people around basketball needed to know that somebody from basketball was running it, which is why I came back to coaching at that time. Then I went away from coaching when Nigel coached, Coach Carroll, Mario Carroll from Poland coached. But when Coach Mario was there, we had some issues. We were not being successful. So I had to come back to coaching again. And then we've continued to be successful since then. Amount of years in my time left, we got the situation that we have here at the moment, and it's a case of, right, do I want to be the chief supremo and overall boss of this team as we go on to be successful in Europe, which we will be, or do I want to now say, here is a time when everything off the floor can be taken care of. I can put my sole attention only on coaching. And I thought to myself, actually, for the next X amount of whatever years I have left, that's what I want to do and be successful on the floor. So that's why I decided that was the road I wanted to take.
Yeah, that's interesting though, because essentially you put the foundations in place in the background to be able to do that as well. So that's probably obviously.
That's right, and that brings us back to where I started. If you want it, you have to create it. I mean, people like yourselves are doing this show and stuff like this. I mean, we've got a lot more social activity going on now than we ever had a few years back. But that's only because in the end, you found a way to do it.
Yeah.
That's what we have to do. So many people in British basketball just complain and whinge on, about all kinds of this and that. I'm just like, shut up. If you don't like it, do something about it or get lost. We don't need you. I really believe that. Stop complaining. You don't like something, change it.
Yeah, definitely. Brian Clough as well. Did you say you spoke to him? Did you know him? Easy. That Mojo is.
I love
Oh, here it is, bro.
Hey, after the show, Google him.
I love Brian. Let me give you like a basketball Brian Clough narrative. They asked him a question. They said, he signed the first £1 million player.
Yeah.
You know, so he's after all this time, he said, listen, they asked him a question. They said, all these players that are coming to play for you, don't they have their own ideas when they come? And he said, yeah, they do. He said, they come and they say, coach, we'd like to do this, we'd like to do that. And I said, okay, let's sit down, we'll talk about it. And then when we finish talking about it, we'll do what I want.
Standard. And that's what they want so much.
Exactly. That's exactly why they want so much.
That's a cool story, though, man. Cool.
So how was the adjustment for you? Obviously, you explained why you did it, but what was it like adjusting? How was that?
Well, listen, I'm a basketball guy. I do basketball 24/7. You see the books over there. There's every coach you can imagine. People don't realize how much work I do on basketball. They're joking. I mean, I spent a lot of my time on the game, on and off the floor. I really study the game. I have a number of people that I talk to that we share and discuss the game. Obviously, you'll know that Nigel is one of my best friends. We talk about basketball every single time. So I love that. I love the ability to do that. I love the ability that we can get some British players on board to try and do that as well. Because for me, no matter what's happening out there, I want to get British guys on the floor, and I will always do that because I believe that I'm still searching for that opportunity we get, and I hope I can do that with our team here to play the kind of way I want us to play and be successful. So I'm enjoying doing it because I haven't yet divested myself of all the stuff off the floor because transition takes time. Yes, we've got some people on board here and we're going through some changes, but it takes time and it's painful and it's painstaking. I've been for 30 years just to make a decision, get it done. But now there's a process you have to go through. You have to share that information with people. They don't know. Somebody says, where do Cheshire play? Where do Plymouth play? All this stuff that is kind of normal, random stuff. If you don't know it, you don't know it, right? You have to go and find out. Imagine if someone had to tell you to go and find out where Plymouth University. It's a lot of work to do, right? So there's still a lot of changes that we're going through, which I hope eventually we'll get to a point where I can't just only focus on ball. But it's what I try to do.
Yeah. Okay, cool. It's interesting, actually. On the back of that, in terms of coaching, where would you rank yourself as a coach in the BBL?
Where do I rank myself?
Yeah, put it to the side. We want to know, Vince.
That's not for me to rank myself. I mean, I think it's always difficult to. I think first of all, coaching in the BBL is amazing. I think it's a tough job. I think that all the coaches that coach in the BBL deserve a real round of applause because there's a lot of things that guys have to work with that you wouldn't have to work with in other positions. And I don't think it's coincidental that some of those coaches, like a Nick Nurse or like a Chris Finch, Jimmy Brandon, that have come through the BBL system have become better coaches because of it. I think you become a better coach. You look at Coach Paternostro, Atiba Lyons, Paul James, they're coaches and they're successful in their own rights, but there's so many edges that they know because of what they've had to do in the BBL. So I think it's a great position. It's not for me to rank myself. I think at the end of the day, some teams have better players, some teams have less players, some teams get the opportunity to achieve. I've tried to improve my own positioning, and I've done so. As I've done so, I've become more and more successful by doing so. But it still makes it tough sometimes. When I look at some of the budgets that we're working on now versus some of the budgets I had before, it's night and day. But I still, one of my biggest victories was beating the London Towers on their floor. With my rinky-dink team from Hemel Hempstead with a budget of £40,000, and that was a huge victory. And funny enough, just a couple of days ago, I got a message from Ray Schultz. I don't know if you remember Ray Schultz, Lucas. He used to play for 6'10", 5-man shooting guy. He used to play for London Towers and myself. I brought him into the league. And he sent me a message the other day saying, hey, coach, I just want to say thank you. I'm like, what for? He said, well, for giving me my start, man. And I'm like, oh, okay, no problem. He said, do you remember that game at London Towers? I'm like, how can I forget it? We beat them by 1. That's one of my biggest victories, no matter what trophies we've won or what golden balls, doesn't matter to me.
And it's always nice when people reach out to you, man, like this. They're probably, that's as rewarding as winning championships and titles. So
Yeah, absolutely. Because those are the guys you share it with, you know.
Yeah.
I was talking about some coaches having better teams than others. Obviously, you have a really good team this year. So give us some insight on what it's like coaching such a team with guys that are the man where they were and now they're here. What's it like?
Yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting with the group that we have. I mean, we've got guys who played at the highest level with bags and bags of knowledge. We got guys who maybe not even at BBL level from a basketball playing perspective. We have some younger guys on the team as well. So the gap is wide. So trying to teach that and trying to maintain focus on that is a challenge. It's something that we have to work with. So it means I have to turn some of the bigger guys, if you like, to themselves become teachers of the game and understand that they need to bring their teammates along with them. In terms of coaching them, I mean, I'll tell you, you know, a basketball player in year 7 in a school in Campbellwood Green is exactly the same as Byron Mullins. You know, they love the game, they want to play, they want to learn, and they want to win. You know, and you know, as long as you put them in a position where they can express themselves, wherever that may be, you know, whether that's throwing the ball up and clapping twice as you would with a kid in school, or whether that's putting the guy off a pick so that he can pop out for his 3, you know, whatever it is, that's what they want to be successful doing that. And I think it's my job as a coach to motivate them on what they might want to achieve. You know, if you listen to some of the interviews that DeAndre Liggins has made, you know, he tells you that, you know, he has an ambition. You know, he wants to be somewhere where he's wanted. You know, and that was when I was recruiting him this summer. I made him know that we want him here, and we want to build a team that he can be proud of and that he can lead, and maybe change the narrative. You know, from being a regular guy in the NBA to a superstar in Europe, to someone who could. I mean, you know, we're yet to win a game in Europe. You know, if we win a game in Europe, it'll be the first time in a long time. If we can get through the stages of where we're trying to get through the Euro Cup, no team has done that for a long time, for many, many decades. If we can do those kind of things, I think he'll begin to see, okay, yes, I can actually draw this next path. And it's up to me to, so whether it's him with all those experiences or Kingsley Okoro, who's trying to find his way, if I can get them to feel the same, then we can be successful.
Definitely. Speaking of the league, actually, because you mentioned DeAndre Liggins and speaking to him and, you know, essentially saying to him, come here, make your own path, kind of, you know, before we kind of get into the current state of the BBL, I wanted to just take a trip, I guess, down memory lane a little bit, because the league was booming in the 90s, obviously, and then, you know, there was a period where it hit a rough patch, and I'd say now probably from maybe like 2012 is sort of like not on the up again, but it's re-establishing itself as a, you know, as a respected a sports league. So kind of what do you make of it currently? Kind of, do you think, will it get back to like the kind of the state it was in years ago, or like will it, you know, make its new path? Kind of, how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, it's interesting because that's an interesting question, and I was fortunate to live through that period as well as this period, to try and understand what the differences may be. I mean, it's a tough one. So I used to sing a song, and you know, we used to have a board meeting every month with all the owners. You know, even, you know, back then, you know, and we would go to meetings with, you know, Barry Marshall, who owned the London Towers, big time music promoter for Tina Turner and Lionel Richie and people like that. Harvey Goldsmith at the Leopards, Chris Wright at Sheffield, you know, the billionaire up in Newcastle, Sir John Hall. And I would always be singing to them, you know, don't believe the hype. You know that song, don't believe the hype. I used to tell them that. And they used to just think I was some young idiot singing rap songs. But I was trying to let them understand that it looks great, you know, it looks great on Sky and this and that, but it was built on fresh air. It was built on fresh air. There was nothing underneath it. You know, there was income generation could never reach what was being spent on those clubs. You know, the focus on junior right now, every BBL club has a basketball pathway. You know, whether it be visiting schools, under 12s, junior teams, central venue leagues, academies, universities. Every team in our league has that without fail. Back then, we had to beg the guys to even have one junior team. You know, they didn't see a value in it. It was just money being spent. If I can, it was that, you know, build it and they'll come. You know, the guys used to think, well, look, you know, they come and pay £65 to watch the Rolling Stones. If I get this right, they'll come and pay £60 to watch the next basketball guy. You know, but it was never going to work like that because, you know, when you study the game off the floor and why people go and watch the game, why are you guys doing what you are doing right now? It's because you love the game. You would not be doing this if you didn't love the game, right? Because you ain't making no money out of it, right? You're doing it because you love the game. Now, so therefore, if you want people to leave football or leave boxing or whatever it is they're doing and care about our sport, they've got to love the game. And they have to learn that from a young age. You know, you've got to have the kids playing from a much, much younger age. So I believe at that time, whilst it looked glorious, you know, don't forget, it was also on the rise of Sky Television. You know, so Sky Television was begging for footage. They were like, yeah, let's take this, yeah, let's take this. And they were spending money on it. So we had, you know, probably something like a £2 to £3 million investment from Sky on all that stuff. So, you know, the environment was different. All of that was different. So I think it was a great time. It looked fantastic, but I don't think it was built on anything solid. And I think we were quite right. Now, there's a big argument about what then happened between then and the down period, if you like, which you referred to. You know, when we took a deal with ITV Sport, you know, I mean, and now in hindsight, people can say whatever they want to, but at the time, they were offering us 4 times more income anchored to ITV. Why wouldn't you do it? Of course you would do it. It turned out to be the wrong deal because eventually the whole thing didn't pan out, but that's just life, you know, bad stuff happens.
Yeah.
As far as what you said about where does that now sit where we are, I think we're in a much better position. Bearing in mind, things are really tough right now. I mean, the COVID situation, I think anybody running a business right now deserves a huge round of applause. Anybody running any business, whether it's a cafe or whatever it is, let alone a basketball, right? So we're in a precarious position. Things are looking positive within the government and everything else. But take that to one side and let's just zoom back pre-pandemic and see how the game was. And I think that the sport is in a much better position. Obviously, if I start with my club, obviously, where we are, what we've grown and developed is taking me from, you know, 2012 to now to get it to where I want to get it to at this point where we're now at the bend of a knee to take off, right? So we're in a better position. Clearly, Leicester, Newcastle, and Worcester, with their own venues, are in a better position because those guys were developing a business in and around their home venue. And that's an income that nobody was talking about X amount of years ago. So that's sensational. And that's where that caring is going to come from. Obviously, all of the clubs have programs. If you go to the Newcastle program, I mean, I think Newcastle have sold something like 600 or 700 season tickets for this season by people knowing they won't be able to watch. That tells you they care. You know, if we can continue to replicate that, that's how the community will be caring about what we're trying to do as a basketball organization, and hopefully we can really blossom. But I do know that, you know, apart from whatever the government does to support us right now, there are 2 or 3 other things in the pipeline that are coming that will help the game as well. So I think we're in a very good position.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. But speaking about the pandemic, and you know, you're saying there's a few things in the pipeline coming that may help. Do you think that we're gonna get a full season, or are you more hopeful that we do? Like, if you're being honest and real with yourself.
Let me find a coin and flip it. No, do I think we're going to get a full season? I just been told this evening, you know, that France has just gone into lockdown.
Oh,
right. Wow. That's what I've just been told tonight. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the government support has been sensational for us. When it arrives, it means that we can continue to play. There are certain things around, you know, like, you know, the elite athletes exemption, which we have, you know, as an international club, you know, the rest of the leagues. It means that we don't have to necessarily do all the self-isolation stuff that everybody normally would have to do because we're in our own bubbles. So with us, because we've been together now for a while, preparing for Europe, you know, we're in our own bubble of 25 to 30 people, you know, maintaining ourselves, checking ourselves. We're doing tests on a regular basis. You know, we're trying to make sure that we can do everything we can. You know, we're trying to get the guy. I mean, you know, the guys are supposed to you know, sanitize their hands off the floor, on the floor as they go. You know, all this stuff, which is creating a crazy environment, by the way. And if you haven't played a game in this environment, it's tough. You know, as a coach, I feel disconnected from my players because they're over there and over there. You know, so it's a whole new kind of game that we're playing. But, you know, I think, you know, if the funding that we're expecting is correct, and some of the other things, I think from a TV exposure wise, there's some stuff coming. I think it'll put us in a good position. And I've always, you know, believed that you should look at everything as an opportunity. You know, I mean, the pandemic is sad. There are people who have died, people whose loved ones have died. So there's no question this is what it is, a pandemic. But I look at everything as an opportunity. And this is, for us as the London Lions, it has been a huge opportunity, and we've grabbed it with both hands. For the league, I think we have an opportunity to change where we are as a sport in the hierarchy of other sports in the country. You know, we were always down there somewhere. I think that right now, when the gates open and maybe things improve, where will we be? Have we jumped up a few spots? In order to do that, what are the kind of things we would have needed to have done to jump up 4 spots to get ahead of badminton and boxing and whatever else we need to get ahead?
You don't like badminton.
You know what I'm saying? You know, so, what are those things that we could have done? But I do believe that if we get a few things right over these next few months, we can elevate ourselves above a number of sports and put ourselves in a much better position going forward. And that's what has to be our driving attitude as owners of the game. We have to try to do that because it's a great opportunity. People are out there, you know, wailing and rubbing hands. And no, use that opportunity. 1 step, 2 step, you know, get ahead. And I think that's what we're trying to do.
Just on the back of that, do you think there should be a season?
Yes, I do. I 100% think there should be a season. I hope it's a season of 11 clubs as it is at the moment. But if it's a season of 6 clubs, then so be it. But there has to be a season because if you go and park it, like ice hockey have done and some others, you know, we used to have an opportunity in the BBL where you could park your club for whatever reasons. I can't remember what the reasons were now. So I think Manchester had a situation where they parked. No, not Manchester, sorry, Derby. Somebody else, sorry. But anybody who parks never comes back, ever. And I think ice hockey have made a big mistake by parking everything. For us, I think we need to play, and I think we need to be out there. Our communities need us to play. You know, let alone the fact that I know the basketball players need to play, but our community needs us. You know, I mean, today Justin Robinson and Dirk Williams are down at the Regal, and some of the, you know, those kids need to see that we're still there. You know,
of course,
it's important.
Yeah. Sorry, just quickly, I know you touched on it already, but kind of, what's the day-to-day environment, or what's it like coaching a team in the current, I guess, pandemic and you know, the situation?
Yeah, it's difficult. So first of all, we're blessed. We have a partnership with the University of East London, which is where we practice. So we have 2
boys.
So we have 2 courts there every day, 9:30 a.m. till 1 p.m. We train every day. We've got a team of team managers who prepare the venue for us, let alone the intensive cleaning that the university does. So that by the time we actually get there, so the guys have their workouts. They have to do their workouts first before practice. So that by the time I get there for practice at 10, they've already done some workouts. The whole thing's already prepared. Their mats, their areas. You know, everybody has their own area. It's not like where we just roll around and throw your bag on the floor, jump out. It's not like that. You know, when Justin comes, his spot is over there. When Kelvin Bristol comes, his spot is over there. You know, we have to go in there. We take our temperatures. But I mean, we use a system at the moment called XPS, which is what I use to manage the players in terms of their well-being, their strength and conditioning, their physiotherapy and medical, how they feel. They input all this stuff so we can monitor them. And also going in there is their temperatures every day, you know, morning and night. So all this has to be monitored. Then the staff, all of us, are doing the same physically there. And anybody who comes in needs special permission. We need to check them, make sure that they're healthy and had tests or whatever before they can join us in the bubble. And that's before we throw a ball in the air. You know, we feed ourselves there right afterwards, so we don't have to go anywhere. You know, so all of that stuff has to be done. I'm constantly reminding the guys, you know, I mean, you know, where are you going tonight? What are you doing? You know, who are you with?
Yeah.
What do you know about her? You know, blah, 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 blah. You know, all that kind of stuff. So you have to try to, let's be real, right? You want to keep it real. Let's keep it real. You know, we've been here we've been here for 3 months. So,
Yeah.
So it's tough, and I said to you before, like how it is on the game situation, where the way we've set up the copper box, bear in mind, everywhere we go have their own rules. We have a COVID officer. We have a COVID officer who's prepared a 26-page COVID document that we have to manage. So UEL have their own, the copper box have their own, and we have to fit in to everything like that. So.
Yeah.
Coaching wise, we had a game last Friday, which I tried to forget. But, I'm sitting there, the assistant coach is over there, the players over there, because that's how it's got to be. So now we're sitting down looking at this and well, actually, what we have to do now is actually reconstruct who and what, where everybody sits. Do I need a coach having a player either side?
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I have a lot of coaches, so we can actually play a team of coaches. But if I put Andrea over there, she needs a player that side and a player this side. If we put Robert Youngblood over there, he needs a player that side, a player this side. So who's thinking about that? But actually, you need to, because it's all that stuff where we would normally all be on the bench and we're all connected, it's gone. It's really is wild.
Yeah, it's insane to hear, but I think obviously credit to you guys for adjusting to it and just kind of taking it on the fly, and just like I guess a lot of the other teams and stuff. So yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
And we're all sharing information about how to do this, how to do that. It's what we have to do. Are we masking? Are we not masking? Are we coaching in a mask? Are we standing in a mask? What are we doing? I'm someone that doesn't wear a mask. I have high blood pressure, so I can't put a mask on and start yelling. I'm already very noisy as it is. So but all of these things are huge. And what message are we giving outside? It's we thought it was about basketball, but it's about lots of things.
Yeah, definitely.
It's about lots of things.
So Vince, away from the pandemic, the BBL in general, do you think it's more of a peer-to-peer development between coaches and owners, so everyone to get better, or is everyone more concerned with their situation, like their team, their club?
You mean amongst the owners and the coaches within?
Yeah.
No. I think obviously everybody's concerned about their club and as in general, like you said, forget the pandemic. But obviously you look at what someone like Leicester have done in terms of wanting to build the facility, and obviously Kevin Routledge, then they used to play at Granby Halls, and that was knocked down. So Granby Halls was knocked down to become the car park for the rugby stadium. And that time the council said, "Oh yeah, we'll give you some land." Well, I'm sure I played at the Granby Hall, so you can imagine how long ago that was. So it's taken them that long to get to where they are now. But he stayed persevered with that and focused on that, knowing that could be a catalyst for their long-term solution. So that's him taking care of his club, obviously. But then you look at Newcastle. Newcastle have built their venue based on learnings from Leicester. A tweak here and a tweak there, and how's the package been put together, and why this and why not that, and so on. And right now, Sheffield are going through the same process themselves. So we share that kind of information. Like I said, we used to meet on an intermittent basis and share knowledge about how are you doing this and how are you doing that. Because obviously the places are different. And in my case, say like in London, what happens in London is going to be quite different from what happens in Cheshire, quite different from what happens in Plymouth. So the issues are different, but some of the things stay the same because, selling sponsorship, I talked about that, as you know, that's an area I used to be very involved in, and I used to be a great person at selling sponsorship. So I would work with others, Russell Levingston at Leicester has worked with me for many years and learned that as well. And, you talk about hotel rooms or accommodation. I mean, accommodation in London. I mean, that's just the biggest bugbear, how do you find accommodation that doesn't cost you an arm and a leg? A 3-bedroom house in Newcastle is £400 a month with a garden and car park and garage. A 3-bedroom house in the flat in London is £2,000 with no flat, no garden, no nothing. This is an issue. But yeah, so we share that kind of information where we can help each other. And in terms of coaches, maybe it's a shade different. I think with coaches, obviously I know all the coaches. Some are newer onto the league, some are older. Paul James and I attended our very first basketball camps together at age 17. So I've known him, for 42 years.
Jeez.
That's incredible, whereas,
Mm-hmm.
Coach McLeod at Newcastle, whilst I've coached with him and against him at junior level, as he was coming through, he's now onto the BBL scene after Fab. So he's young and he's BBL coaching, but we talk regularly. I had really great messages on our way to Europe from someone like himself, Coach Ben Thomas, Rob, who all care about how our league looks outside.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that we all care about from a coaching standpoint. And they always bash us in Europe, but I don't think we believe that as a group. Coach Lavandier, Vincent Lavandier, who coached at Glasgow last year, calls me all the time. We talk. He said, Coach, I didn't know this league was so tough. I said, nobody does. This is a tough league, and we've got to continue to work together to develop those kind of things out there. But yeah, we care for the overall development of the league, not just our clubs, for sure, 100%.
Beautiful, man.
Obviously, new ownership at Manchester. And we've been talking all summer. I know they've been talking to other clubs all summer, trying to help them to do whatever it is they need to do. No one's forcing anything down anybody's throat, but if you need help, we're all here to help.
Yeah. Well, what do you think the purpose of the league is? From even like basketball aside, kind of, in terms of the wider picture. Does that make sense?
That's a big question. The purpose of
That's what I do, Vince. You see my tweets.
Yeah, that's for sure. I guess the question you could say then is, okay, so what are we? If I'm a basketball club, what am I? We are a member of our community. That's where we start. We are a member of our community. And this is so powerful when you talk to, say, like Justin or Joe, who are playing at home. That means so much to them. You saw how the guys were gassed up from the Royals to be at home.
Yeah.
I don't know how I can describe that. I think I was talking to Teddy the other day, and he was talking about when he's playing in Europe, and all these guys, they played in front of their friends and family, and this. It means so much. So number one, we are a member of our community, so we should represent our community to the best of our abilities. The fact that we have a sport that maybe is, not a natural sport in this country versus rugby, football, cricket, but it's a game that we know at grassroots level, kids want to play. Kids just want to play. So we have a responsibility there to show them how to play, to teach them how to play. So if we're going to do that, then we've got to teach them how to play the right way, right? So,
for sure.
The setup with the academies, structures, the university options for youngsters to be able to actually get a scholarship here in the UK whilst playing basketball. If you're fortunate enough, now we have much tighter ties with UEL maybe than we had when you were there, Lukas. Whereas if you were there now, you'd be training with us every morning, and before going to class and stuff like that. So that's an area that improved a lot, and that's again up and down the country as well. So we have a role to play there. Then now, of course, now you're actually representing your community when playing against other communities and when playing outside. So it just grows from there. We start off as members of the community, trying to do the best for our community, but then represent in the right manner, play the game in the right manner. Once we step onto the court, all bets are off, right? Whatever it takes. But once we step off the court, you have to carry yourself. You have to, do it the right way. So that's what I think our role is to do, and obviously, if we can produce champions along the way, our own champions along the way, we are hampered as a sport because of not being funded the way we should be. And nobody's asking for money. I saw a few people say about handouts and begging for this and begging for. Ain't nobody begging for anything. What would be good is fair funding. Fair funding for what we do, right? This is what rugby does over there, and they get 100 million. We do 5 times more, and we get nothing. Yeah. That's not fair. That's fine. We're not saying they shouldn't get money or netball shouldn't get money. What is fair? And if it's fair, give us what's fair. And with what's fair, we can be successful. The amount of work that those GB teams, male and female, put in for what they do, that's incredible. What Joe Leadham does with that team, is sensational with nothing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's criminal,
It's true.
right? It's criminal. You know, Kieran Achara has to bang on every door, and they're giving him MBE. Man, I'm sure he'd rather throw that MBE back for fair funding.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
what you're asking for, you know. So to me, those, you know, we're hampered in those areas, and then we're also hampered by a drain of our best players to the US. You know, and I can't blame a player who says I want to live the life in the US, college basketball arenas and cheerleaders and this and that. I can't blame the guy.
Yeah.
Or, you know, but at the same time, I'm saying every time you do that, you don't know it, but you take 50 minds with you.
Mm-hmm.
Who will no longer stay. You know, so the battle becomes bigger.
Yeah.
So therefore, what do you do? How do you change that? How do you know? No, I don't see the other sports having to deal with that kind of issue. I don't see all these footballers going off to Spain.
Mm-hmm.
It's not happening. It's not happening. Whereas our basketball players will go anywhere but home. It must be better anywhere. You know, and I've got some horrendous stories if we get into it. But you know, we have that drain that takes our talent away, which I think the other sports we're competing in don't have to deal with. Because, you know, one of our young basketball players who wants to go to college in the States, I asked him, why are you going to college in the States? He actually didn't know.
Yeah.
Very good player, very, very successful lad, but he actually didn't know. So I said, well, what are you going for? I mean, do you want a job out of it? Or is it for fun? What are you going for? He said, oh, no, I want a job. I want to be a professional basketball player. Well, I'll give you a job now. So it's not for a job. It's for the other things. It's for, you know, US. Yeah. And I'm sure I saw somewhere the other day, I'm trying to think, the young fella played for Sean Jameson, Moses, talking about some of the horrors over this, that, and the other. It's a challenge, man. But I'm not decrying anything. I'm just saying that no, I don't think any other sport that we have around, you know, our country has that as well as not being fairly funded.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, it definitely resonates with me as well, because my situation was similar. I went to junior college, and that wasn't the best situation, but at the time it felt like it was the only kind of option to pursue, I guess. But then, like you said, there's definitely arguments for and arguments against kind of, you know, leaving.
I think the point what you just said there, that it seemed like the best option at the time, you know, tells me something I already know, which is that, you know, we don't do a good enough job of letting the youngsters know what could be possible. You know, and we've talked about it recently at a meeting with UEL about how do we show the closer link with the Lions and UEL and the Barkinabi situation. How do we show a closer link to show that actually that's the route I could take, you know? And we're working on that to see how we can better get to. So someone doesn't say there wasn't. I thought it was the best option for me. If someone comes and looks at this as a great option, not a bad option, even better option, and I'm taking this one, that's okay. Because you take, you know, at the end of the day, we all have to live with our choices, right? So that's okay. As long as they made that decision from a position of strength, as opposed from a position of not knowing, you know. And I think with a lot of the kids, they're probably in a position of not knowing because we haven't done a great enough job about what could be on offer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, fair enough.
That's a lot. You made a lot of good points, man. So, speaking about the league, do you think the BBL was growing basketball in the UK? And do you think it's actually the BBL's responsibility to grow the sport or elsewhere?
Yeah, this is a situation, isn't it? You know, this is what has the area that has held our sport back longest, I would say, is the synergy between the governing body or bodies, the professional league, and the development of the game as a whole. I think if you want it to be black and white, it's not the BBL's job to develop the talent in the UK. If you want it to be black and white, right? It's the job of the governing body. That's clear.
I agree.
Now, I have to say, you know, I've focused my energies on my club the last 5 years. I just gave up on whatever else might have been going on with leagues and governing bodies because I've been in too much and I've been frustrated too much. So I just got on with my club. But I would say for 99% of the time that I have known it, there haven't been the professionals at the governing body to go out and develop the game. The only organization that has professionals to go out and grow the game is the BBL, even though it's not their job. So if I look at our time at Milton Keynes, you know, we had 16 Lions clubs in Milton Keynes. We had 1,200 kids playing every week. We had 8 basketball development officers, and we worked in 54 schools. Now, it's not my job to develop basketball, but that's what we would do.
Yeah.
You know? And it's replicated by a lot of other clubs. So, you know, so your question is, does the BBL do that? Yes, it does. You know, and some areas are more successful than others, because if you look at the Riders program with Loughborough and attracted other kids in there from all over the country to become very successful. The problem in London is can be slightly unique and different. A lot of the young Londoners want to move outside London. You know, if I'm living at home with my mum in Hackney, I don't want to come and join the Lions because I'm going to still be in Hackney. I want to go anywhere else. You know, I go to Coach Jameson's in Stoke-on-Trent, or you know, Coach Dougie in Birmingham, or somewhere else. You know, so you know, you have that kind of situation. But I do think that we do develop the game. I do think it's not necessarily our responsibility, but actually, if you want to be successful, if you want to have that pathway, you know, you need it. So we were fortunate in Milton Keynes in that the time that we had there, we were able to implement situations where, you know, our under-12s team were playing the same system as our BBL team and as our under-18s and as our MK college teams. We were being successful all across the board. So it was easier for me to say to Jordan Spencer at 15 to come and play the BBL game because he didn't have to learn anything, you know, whether it was Connor Washington or him or Chris Tyler or whoever it may be. They could simply go up and down very easily. We had a game at Crystal Palace in that first season that we came back to London. It was a live game on Sky, and we're playing Leicester Riders. And we had 6 injuries. We only had 12 players. So we were stuck. And I came back to Milton Keynes, and I got one of my youngsters from Milton Keynes, and I said, look, we're running this, that, and the other, which you know, join us. And he played in that game. Just like that. He never trained with us, never done anything. You know, I think we ended up losing the game by 1 on the buzzer. But
that's wicked.
That's where it developed. Imagine if we could have done that 10 times over.
Yeah.
You know, so instead of 1 Jordan Spencer, there's 50 of them.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
50 Washingtons and 50 Reese Haggis, all these kids. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's so, you know, that's where we have to go. I think we'll get there, but you know, I can just imagine that thing just expanding with that base, you know. I mean, we all understand exponential because of pandemic, but we can apply it to basketball and development.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, it's interesting you kind of honed in on the Lions anyway, like your club itself. I guess from the outside looking in, it's obviously, we know it's difficult to run a team, and you've been involved in the management side of it and obviously the coaching side. But obviously, this question probably takes like a day to answer, but kind of what are the biggest kind of challenges of, I guess, you know, just how difficult is it to run a team in the BBL from a day-to-day aspect? Kind of what are the...
Yeah, you're right. That would take a long time.
Kind of, you know,
well, yeah. I mean...
Yeah, but I guess like top-level stuff, you know, what are the biggest things that jump out?
I mean, obviously, there's the biggest things I think is obviously funding. You know, what is your funding model? What is that structure? You know, is it season tickets? Is it regular tickets? Is it sponsorship? Is it community? What is it? And what works best for you? So I give you an example, you know, in Milton Keynes, I would say 80% of our income was sponsorship. I would say in London, 80% of our income is tickets.
Wow.
Completely flipped over. And yet you would think that, you know, you look at London and you think, oh my goodness, yes, there's, you know, there's so many businesses, so many blah, blah, blah. But actually the noise is too much. And there's too many first-class things to do in London. Well, if it's the theater, it's the best in the world. If it's the football, it's the best in the world. Everything is up there. So it's difficult to find your niche, and so sponsors can go wherever they need to go. You know, so you got to find a different way of trying to sell that. You know,
appealing,
yeah. You know, so therefore, the funding model, you need to work out what that is. In Plymouth, the funding model is going to be different. So when I used to play, say at Tower Hamlets and so on, we used to love going to Plymouth because at Plymouth, when they go to a game, you think they're going to the club. All the girls are dressed up, high, you know, because it's the place to be. You know, you go to some other places, watch a game somewhere else, everybody's there in their t-shirts and lounging. It's completely same game, but completely different vibe.
Yeah.
You know, so you, for your club, wherever you may be, you got to think, what's my funding model? You know, and in Newcastle, it's a community structured model. You know, let's develop the grassroots. Let's grow the Lions clubs, or in their case, the Eagles clubs. Let's work the hoops for health in the community. And then all of these people will care.
Yeah.
And if they care, they're going to come. So they'll all come. So that's the beginning of my funding model. And it's on top of that that you can send your. So that's the biggest, what that is, and how you're going to deal with that. Then now you're just running the business, you know, obviously your players, you know, where do you recruit your players from? How much are you going to pay for players? You know, some players get wound up about what they're worth. It's not about what you're worth, it's what people are prepared to pay. It's what the market is prepared to pay. So you got to deal with that. And you got to decide, you know, through your coach, what, you know, how you view the way you're going to play and the kind of players that you're going to need. Oh, I know. I can be Chester from 10 years ago. I got 5 Americans. Anybody else on the bench that can't walk and chew gum, doesn't matter. Or you can say, no, I'm going to be Coach Garbaletto's Mersey and have 8 English players. So it's up to you, you know. And those things have severe impacts, you know, in terms of, you know, therefore the funding that you've now fought so hard to get, how it's going to go and how it's going to fly out the door. You know, but then when then your people assets again come down to your fans and your community and how you engage them, how they care. You know, I went to, where did we go this year? We went to Barking to play Barking Bears in a preseason friendly. We were talking to them, and they have 200 sponsors.
Wow.
You know, 200 sponsors at differing levels of sponsorship, right? But one of the things they do is, as soon as you become a sponsor, which might be 200 grand, or it might be 5 grand, no matter what, every sponsor gets 2 tickets to the pre-game meal at the venue. Well, that's brilliant. I would not have done that because I'll be thinking, well, these guys pay 200 grand. I'll give them everything they want. These guys only give me 5, but you know, hey, there's a couple of tickets over there. You can talk to so-and-so. But actually, they treat them all the same. Now we've got 400 people having a pre-game meal before the game. That's a networking opportunity. You know, we don't know what's going to click between these guys. So actually, it's very smart.
Yeah, it is.
So, you know, you go out there and you learn how it works for you. You know, but then if you haven't got a 7,000-seater venue like we have, and you've got a 1,200-seater, now you got to be careful with your tickets. You know, you can't solely just go out and willy-nilly do this or willy-nilly, because now every ticket you get rid of that doesn't bring money in, you know, is an impact on your sales.
Yeah.
So, you know, to your point about where the difficulty lies, this you know, you got to work to get it in, and then you got to work as to how you're going to spend it to your best pound to get the best bang for it.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So speaking of like funding and stuff, obviously everyone knows that the team was bought recently. How did that come about? What made you want to agree to it? Well,
I mean, contrary to popular opinion, people think I'm a difficult guy. I'm actually a very simple guy. If you ask me a question, I'll tell you the answer. If you want to know something, ask me. Stop giving clues on social media. I mean, I see so many people like, hey, they said this, and I'm like, nobody's asked me. So, it comes back to, you know, what I was saying earlier on about being successful. You know, I mean, I've worked to fund all my teams since 1993. You know, my first team in Hempstead, you know, I had guys playing for me as a favor. I even played for myself as a favor. You know, then you know, we started moving up, you know, in the echelons. But every time we improved on the floor, you had to raise more money for it. You know, you had to go and raise more money and raise more money, and it's tough, you know. And I'm not gonna be sitting here and pretending that, you know, every year was easy and we got the money and we did it. Sometimes I couldn't pay the guys. You know, I'd be like, yo, Lucas, can you wait till Friday for your money? Yo, Mo, can you wait till the 14th for your money? You know, sometimes that's how it is.
Yeah.
And, you know, you're trying to find the money. And people will promise you all sorts financially, which may or may not show up. You know, I will never forget this. I learned this lesson. Oh, my goodness. I learned this lesson in Hemel Hempstead. Right, we went to the local Ford dealership. I sold them a sponsorship. Great stuff. The guy was like, yeah, 20 grand, 5 cars, this and that, blah, blah. Let's go. I'm like, you know, the guys are big, so we probably need bigger cars. Yeah, come on down. You know what? We were sitting in the cars in the showroom. You want this one or do you want that one? The guy didn't do anything. He didn't do anything. We couldn't answer the phone once we left the building.
What?
Wow.
You know? And that's just one aspect. You got sponsors, you know, I've had sponsors, significant 6-figure sums that don't pay. Just don't pay. You know, we just decide, now we're not doing it, sue us.
What?
You know, and then based on all of that, contracts and everything else, you go, right, okay, I can get this player in, I can get that player in, I can get this accommodation. It's just fresh air. So now you suddenly think, oh shit, what am I gonna do? And in that scenario, you own the club, as in my case, you know, it's up to me. You got to find a solution. The player doesn't know. Player's like, yeah, coach, you know, I'm ready. You're like, this is the situation, you know. So that happens in this game. Now, if it's a football club, there is no football club in this country, no matter how much trouble they get into, there's always a car dealer or some guy down the road prepared to buy money and get loans for a couple of million. Luton, I don't know how many times Luton Town have gone down.
Yeah.
There's always somebody, you got a new chairman, and, you know, where do we find that person in basketball?
Yeah.
You know? So
like Southend today. Southend got bailed out today with their 500 grand.
There you go. You see?
Yeah.
So as I've been, you know, developing the club in London and trying to do this, I mean, the money we pay for our facility is more than entire budgets for numerous teams in this league.
Wow.
It's huge. Huge.
I can imagine. Yeah.
You know? And like I said to you about, we pay, I mean, no disrespect to any club. Actually, I won't mention the clubs, but we pay more in accommodation than some clubs' player budgets.
Wow.
You just think about it. If you both live in London, right?
Yeah.
And you want to accommodate 12 players, 10 players, accommodate 10 players in London. Work out the number.
Yeah.
A lot of money.
Yeah, for sure.
Crazy
you know?
money. Yeah.
That's before you spend 30,000, 40,000 on your bus trips.
Yeah.
You know, it's a lot. So, and of course, the more money you spend on players or the better players you get, the more you want to treat them.
Of course.
You know, what's the point of bringing Justin Robinson to London and not have a physio? It makes no sense. So you might scrape your money together for Justin, but you got to have a physio, you got to have this, you got to have that. Otherwise, you're wasting your money. You may as well just go and get somebody else on half the price. So everything has a knock-on effect. So to your question more about, so why? I've always been looking for. I actually started by saying, you know, that some guys think I'm a difficult guy. I'm not, because if someone can come, I'm always prepared to learn. Yeah. I am always prepared to learn. I've never been stuck about, oh yeah, no, I know this. No, if someone can show me an easy way or a different way, I'm ready. You know, so trying to be successful, trying to get it to where we want to go to, I thought to myself, we need other people on board. You know, and I've had many fake people come along. You know, get this, that, do that. Yeah, you're a millionaire, so you must know more than I do because I'm not a millionaire. And it turns out they don't. They were just lucky, or they were just this, or they were just that. They don't know. So you continue searching. We got to a situation where, I'm trying to think, the best, the best opportunity. I had actually sold the club some years back, about 3 or 4 years back, to the richest man in Turkey. We had sold the club to the guy, about to sign contracts. Unfortunately for us, I signed the deal the day before Brexit.
Mate.
We got a phone call on the Brexit morning that said basically the world's a different place now, and that was the end of that deal. And that was a multi-million-pound deal. So you're back to square one, and so keep going. But now the situation here is, I had some people approach me. We talked for a number of months, and they got it. They got it straight away. They weren't coming from a position of ego or this, or they were coming from a position of, we love basketball. We love basketball. Yeah. Why is it not successful in London? Why is it not successful in England? And then you have to try and explain to them why you think that's the case. And they understood that, but they still saw this as a sleeping giant.
Yeah, a lot of people say that.
Yeah, they do say that, yeah.
So that's what it is. So, but then, are you prepared to commit? It's not going to be an easy ride. Are you prepared to commit? If you're prepared to commit, then we can go. I can share my knowledge. You can bring yours. And if you've got the resources, we should be okay. And so you talk. And at the end of the day, we got on well. They understood what we wanted to achieve. They asked me what I thought the targets would be in year 3, year 5, and year 7. I told them. And they're here for the long haul. They're here for 10, 20 years.
Wow.
And turn this country's basketball into something, And so
I'm right.
That's it. That's the reason why. And so it wasn't me. I'm never gonna be in a situation where, no, I don't want to do this. I want to keep it to myself. I'm not about that. If you want to send me back to the academy to coach all the young ones and bring them up, I'll do that. Not a problem. If that's what it needs for us to be successful, I'll do it. So that's the reason.
Okay, so away from, I guess, funding and that kind of stuff, I don't know how connected you are to it, but there's been a lot of there's been quite a bit of criticism with, especially around the PR, the social media side, especially with the European games, where I guess fans felt there was a lack of noise being made by the club. Do you think that was fair, or kind of, because you'd be a lot closer to that kind of stuff than us from the outside looking in? Can you give us any insight?
Yes, I can. I mean, I don't think the criticism was unfair to some extent. I don't think it was unfair. I think it was probably fair criticism. I think we didn't do a good enough job to explain to people what was going on behind the scenes. What transition was going on behind the scenes. I think, we were getting ready to play a game in the pandemic. Because, by the way, we had the choice. The choice was, should we bin Europe this year?
Oh, wow.
And do it next year? Yeah, it was an option. We're in the pandemic, right? You want to play in the pandemic or not? It was our choice. And we said, no, we want to do it. So on that basis, within all the restrictions, we tried to do it, and so within all of that, there's also transitioning going on behind the scenes. This club was being run by 3 full-time people before. Now you're trying to go from that into whatever the new reincarnation will be, and it doesn't happen overnight. So, balls are being dropped in between, and you try and make the best of it as you can. The bottom line is, come the end of this month, we'll have our full-time people in position. We'll have people trying to do what they need to do about what we're doing. I think to our fans, it was almost like a do or die situation, because we all knew it was our biggest game in our history.
Yeah.
Right? So to our fans, it was definitely a do or die situation. But in the greater scheme of things, in terms of a business and where we're trying to go with business, it wasn't the end of the world. It was a transition period of what we're trying to do. So therefore, it was just being dealt with in that way. Now, could it have been? And also, I'll take some of the blame myself by saying, I went from being in charge of everything to leaving some stuff to other people. Now, why would they have the knowledge that I had at that time of what was and wasn't important and what needed to be done at that time? They wouldn't have it. Very few people do. So maybe I shouldn't have stepped away from things as much as I did, but of course I had to prepare the team. So I think there's a number of different things that ended up with what looked like not a great execution at that time. But moving forward, and people are now in place and coming in place, and things are beginning to improve, as you will see as time goes on. You know, we've captured a lot of content. We have a lot of stuff coming out. We'll be better at what we do in that regard. I mean, you can look around and you can see what other clubs are doing, and you know, but you look at the engagement levels and things like that. The engagement level is high, and we have to maintain that. You know, we have to maintain that.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. They're just like learning from, you know, different situations and coming out better on top, and that's what it sounds like you're doing. So
that's what we have to do. You know, we will. You know, we want to be best in class, whatever we do. That's our motto this year, going forward. Anything we do, we want to be best in class. We're not in best in class in everything we do. We have to learn. We have to get better at it.
Of course.
Definitely.
So,
all right.
Obviously, you have a lot of big names on your team. Previously, you were talking about how you're trying to convince some players and, you know, to sign at London. How did you manage to sign all these big names?
Which one?
Yeah, true. You have a lot, but like the general, just like how did you manage to get in touch with a few of them and stuff like that?
Yeah, I mean, it varies in many ways. You know, obviously you have guys that you want, so you gotta hunt them down. You have guys that you may have spoken to over time that you felt at that time that the situation wasn't right, but that if the situation was right, you would want them to come. You know, I mean, obviously very briefly on Justin, for instance, in his time, you know, we were talking to Justin for 2 or 3 years to persuade him to come. I mean, in fact, we actually had him the year before, and he was working out with us, and I think we were right there where we needed to be. And then, you know, Perry Lawson broke his nose in practice. You know.
Wow.
You know, so that was the end of that. So it took another year after that. But you know, talking to Justin about what our plans were for the future, what we were trying to achieve, why we thought we could achieve it. In his case, I knew he wanted to be home because of his family, and I said to him that I felt that, you know, not wanting to lengthen or shorten his career, but if he had, let us say, he had a couple more years to go in Europe, if that was the case, he would have twice as much here. So he could end up earning more in the end than he would have earned in Europe over that period of time. And that he could then, you know, he's one of our great players from the UK.
Definitely.
But unless you're a basketball guy, you wouldn't have known Justin, right? But if he came and played in London and we became successful, he would have the opportunity to build his brand based on himself in his city, you know, and it's worked out that way.
Very much so.
You know, and now, you know, he's bought his own house. You know, he's still playing at the best team in the country. He's still doing what he wants to do from a basketball perspective. He's mentoring kids. He's at Brixton, and he's got his own. You know, I don't know how it could be better for Justin. You know, so we were right. That's not to say we're right all the time. You know, with Joe's been with us a long time. You know, and it's not as if it's always been rosy with myself and Joe. You know, Joe and I parted company after the first year, but we both saw the light and we came back together again. That just shows you that you can work through things. And now, you know, I like to feel, I look at Joe as a son, you know, and his development on the floor, off the floor, his businesses, his IQ, his openness has grown immensely. He's a huge asset to us, you know, and he's playing with more poise now than he's ever done. You know, Andre Lockhart is 35. He's playing the best basketball he's ever played right now. He's the fittest he's ever been, you know, because he's someone who, again, has had a family. He's bought into the situation. He's committed to the situation. He's the head of our academy. He's an unbelievable guy. I love the guy, you know. And then you then talk about bringing in newer guys, you know, like say Kervin Bristol, you know, who we came across during the Ballers games, you know, and we were playing and Corey Dixon was coming off the floor and said, "Coach, man, this guy, I can't get to the rim on this guy." I'm like, "You can't get to the rim on this guy?" I said, "No." I said, "We might need this guy." You know, and so he had, you know, luckily for us, he had a great time in London. And I'm like, "Yo, would you like to play in London?" "Oh, man, Coach, I love this place, man. This is great." You know, so we're able to persuade him to come. Now, we should have kept him last year, but we didn't. And we spoke almost every week while he was in Ukraine. You know, "Coach, can you make it so I can come back? I just want to come back." You know, but then that was because of the vibe of the guys around the club. You know, Joe and the guys I mentioned, but the other guys that I haven't mentioned. I mean, you know, we miss Paul Greed. We missed Paul Greed terribly. The reason it took us so long to get going last year was because we didn't have Paul. You know, Paul plugged every gap we needed on the floor. If we needed somebody more over on the backcourt side, Paul plugs it. You need somebody over, Paul plugs it. You need an enforcer, Paul plugs it. You know, we miss him a lot, but you know, he engendered, you know, that spirit with us. So that's why Kirby loved being here. He loved the way we played our basketball. It was great. The same with Ladarius Tapp. You know, Brandon Peele. Nobody wanted Brandon Peele when I found him. He'd been sitting at home for a year after graduation.
Wow.
You know, and I saw this guy, and I tell you, and I've said this on, I think one other podcast I said this on. So I saw this guy, and I thought, this is a young Charles Smith. He is just a young Charles Smith. Same height, 6'8", long arms, 7'2", jumps well, shoots well, moves well. You know, and you know, every year with us, he's just got better and better and better. You know, but after 3 years with us, you know, it's important. These are young. At the end of the day, these are young men like yourself. It's about living life. It's about experiencing different things. So he wanted to get an opportunity to experience different things. So we wished him well. I'm sure our paths will cross again in the future. You never know. But he continued to grow and develop. So for him, he really appreciated being brought into a situation and nurtured and you know, flying as he did. Then you come to some of the bigger names that we have here now, like I say, like a Liggins, like a Byron Mullins, you know. And I sensed with Liggins that he wanted to belong somewhere. That was the sense I got when I was watching him, you know. I mean, first of all, can you think about the mental fortitude to play with LeBron, first of all, right? Because whatever we say, LeBron's not easy to play with, right? And yet this guy played with him consistently, started 60 games, whatever, right? But, you know, he's not the mainstay of the NBA. Now he's in this club. Now he's in that club. Now he's in the G League. But he's the defensive player of the year. Then he's in that, you know, and that must be tough on you, right? You know, imagine how you feel as a basketball player when you're injured and you can't play.
Yeah.
You're sitting on the bench, nobody can console you, you're pissed off, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh yeah, thanks, Liggins, we don't need you now. You go back to the G League.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm on my way to, they want you in Minnesota. Oh, okay. I mean, you got to be strong, right?
Yeah.
You got to be strong. You know, so I tapped into that and I spoke to him about that and I said, this is something that, you know, you could actually change the face of basketball in this country. So when they look back, they won't be talking about LeBron. You know, Liggins doesn't want to do another interview. Oh, what's it like to play with LeBron James? Who cares? You know, he wants to do an interview about Liggins.
Himself.
Who are you? You know, when your brother got shot dead at 14, what made you decide you were going to follow in his footsteps to be an NBA player? That's what he wants to talk about, right? And then the next question should be, how did you take a team that nobody respected in a country that nobody respected to win something in Europe? How did you do that? That's what he wants to talk about. So I believe that's his trigger. You know, Byron Mullins. You know, Byron's a strange one because he's the guy that never shows up, right? He never shows up anyway. He was supposed to play for the Olympics. He was supposed to play for GB. He was supposed to never. We all knew about him, but nobody ever seen him. You know? So I tried to talk to him about, you know, actually, you are British. You know, you could make a difference. You know, I mean, he can earn so much more money in Japan. They pay you all kinds of money over there. North Korea, I think he was in last year. The basketball was terrible, awful. I mean, if you're a basketball player, and by the way, these guys have deep knowledge about the game.
Of course.
You know, Higgins and Mullins have deep knowledge of the game. You're playing basketball in North Korea. With all that knowledge in your head, you must feel like you better get a pint of rum or something after this because it's terrible. It's just terrible. You know, it's just terrible. So to come to a situation where we say, look, it's proper basketball. We're on the way up. You're going to play high level. Can you make a difference? You know, and can you actually, so they don't remember you as the guy who never showed up, can you be the guy that showed up when it counted? You know, and that's the relationship I have with Byron, you know. But that's how you have to sell the situation. London sells itself, obviously. You know, you speak to Liggins and you say, oh, how do you like it here? He loves it. They all speak English. It looks like home. There's brothers everywhere. You know, what's going on? It's great. So that will sell itself, you know. So that's how you go. Once you've identified that, obviously those are the guys you want, then you go and find the reason for them to play. Because at the end of the day, it's all well and good to say, oh yeah, I want to play Champions League, I want to play in London. Yeah, but it's the 14th of February. My girlfriend's not here. It's freezing outside, and we're traveling to Chester. Let's go. Man, do we have to go? Well, we do have to go. That's when you know if they really want to play for you.
Just staying with the whole team thing. Obviously, when you went to play in a BCL qualifier, the best player on the court was Matthew, and obviously, you guys did part ways with him or cut him, and everyone was confused. So why did you guys get rid of Matthew?
Well, I mean, Matthew himself will tell you that, a lot of people were saying he was the best player on the game, but he knew he could have played much better. I think he said that himself. He told me that face to face. From a defensive standpoint, obviously, the last 6 possessions of the game, you watch it back, you can see the situation. Matthew is a guy that I love. He's, anybody that comes from Brixton, for me, as far as the Brixton Top Gas is concerned, gets a pass into my situation. But I spent a lot of time with Matthew before he joined us. And for me, Matthew and any other player, right? It's about matching expectations. There is no point having somebody with you if your expectations don't match, and you, as a coach, you spend a lot of time trying to make sure that whether he's your number 1 starter or whether he's the 12th guy on the bench or he's the guy you need to come and shut somebody down, everybody's expectation has to be right, and I think at the end of the day, our expectations didn't get to where they needed to get to for that to be successful. And where I am now, and I spoke earlier on, I mean, not that I'm trying to pass away or anything, my time in basketball is limited. I'm not 26, I'm much older than that. So I only want to do what I want to do with the people I want to do it with. And expectation has to match. If it doesn't match, we can't work. It's not like back in the day where, I would spend a lot of time here. I'm not doing that anymore. I'm going to give people opportunities at the right time, or if I believe it's the right time, or if I believe they deserve the opportunity, which I believe they did. But in the end, if it's not going to work, we have to move on before we all go into some pain. And it's as simple as that. I don't have any personal animosity to Matthew at all. I want Matthew to be successful in whatever he does, and I will support him in whatever he does. I've always done. But it just, unfortunately, doesn't match sometimes. No more than that.
Is that the expectation thing? Is that from a basketball standpoint? Is that
from a basketball.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. From a basketball standpoint, it has to work from a basketball standpoint. Obviously, you want good people, and I know he's good people, but it's got to work from a basketball standpoint.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. I think you've kind of, I think you've mentioned before, and obviously we know from just your history in general that you've always kind of given British kids a chance to play, and I think probably more so than a lot of other BBL teams, or even like when we look at NBL Division 1, kind of. A lot of the time people kind of overlook British kids. So I guess my question is, for the BBL as a whole, do you think young British talented players get, I guess, the respect they deserve from teams when it comes to like getting the opportunity to play in the BBL?
Well, I think that's kind of 2 or 3-sided, can I say? First of all, to some extent, it depends on the organization, right? To the second extent, it depends on the coach. And in the final extent, it depends on the player. And so all those things come together. So for me, I'm a British player. I still see myself as a British player. So I will always want to advance British players. I believe that we should give opportunity to the young players. I believe that if I was a British player, I might approach things differently. And let me explain to you how. I spoke to, I'm sure he won't mind me saying this, I pray he doesn't, Martin Henry, many years ago, right? Many, many years ago. One of our greatest British players, fantastic guy, so committed to the game. And I remember, bearing in mind, if you think about it, at the time, we're a small team, we're Milton Keynes. He'd been playing at London Towers. So I reached out to him in around June, which is, as you will know, just about a month after the end of the season. And I said, Martin, what's it going to take for us to get you to Milton Keynes? Because there's a British player, big guy, and I mean big guy in everything, not just stature, that I could build British guys around. right? But he would be coming to a smaller club. What would it take to bring you to Milton Keynes? And he said, Vince, it's June. I said, yeah, it's June. He said, I'm a British player. I don't sign until September. I'm like, oh, really? He said, yeah. I said, well, by the time I get to September, whatever I've got in my purse, it's going to be a lot less. So if you're a British player and you want the most money and you want the best job, you might want to sign in June. Right? But that's how the best British players were approaching it. Right? There was always something better somewhere else. Now, can you imagine the British player? You know, one of my favorite British players, one of my two favorite British players is Olan Jackman and Teo Ogudengbe. I love Teo Ogudengbe. I wish he could have played for me the rest of his career. Right? Because he listens and watches and learns. Who do you think is the first name on Creon's roster?
Yeah, Teo.
I
mean, is that rocket science? I'm no. Teo, right? I'm a great British player, and I want to play. So I say to the coach, I'm ready, and I'm here, and I'm willing. Who do you think is going to? So any coach in the BBL is thinking, right, I've just signed Teo. 6'6", 6'7", jumps out the building, shoots the ball, runs all day, leader for my guys, you know, blah, blah, blah. Do I need American in that spot? No. Finish. Am I going to get me a point guard, or am I going to get me a 6'10", whatever, but I definitely don't need this guy because I've got the best. And that's how the British players should be thinking. But no, they're like, right, we're going to go with an all-English backcourt. You're a great point guard. Would like you to come, blah, blah. Oh, yeah, coach, yeah. But, I spoke to the guys in so-and-so, and I had this offer in Germany and 17th division in Italy. What are you doing? What are you doing?
It's good.
It's true.
I like that. Oh, that is true. Yeah, because
oh man,
there's always that's the common thing, isn't it? There's always something better somewhere else.
I mean, you can mention any English players you want. I mean, obviously, Teo and Olan wanted to explore Germany and other places, France, I think, and so on when we finish at Christmas. But if they had come with us to the Copper Box, they would still be with us now. There's no question about it, right? Because I would never have to get a wing guy in that position ever. And I'm sure that's how, I mean, I haven't said to PJ or Atiba, how do you, but Atiba's got Nick Lewis. Is he looking for a two-guard American to shoot the ball? I don't need one, I got one here. And so Nick can have the job, as long as he does his job, we'll have the job for as long as he wants the job. But I don't see, and I don't think that the British players are thinking that way. They're thinking, I could go there, I could go there. No, you got to think that, how do I turn the situation I could actually control into what I want? That's what guys should be doing. That's before I come to the first part of your question about, are the coaches giving British players opportunities? I mean, that's the secondary part, because now if you have a coach that was trying to give a British kid an opportunity and that kid wasn't taking that opportunity, what do you want the guy to do?
Yeah, sure.
He's going to say, well, I got to have a point guard so I know how we're going to play. So I'll get some guy from the US. I don't care if he was NAIA or Division 2 or blah, blah, blah. I'll just get it. Now, all of a sudden, we get to September, the phone doesn't stop ringing. Hey, coach, I just came back and coach, but I just signed Quincy, whatever his name is, or somebody. You know what I'm saying? So it's two ways. It's two ways. Because I don't think organizations want to spend all their time looking for players here and everywhere. I don't think they do. I don't. So when I look at my time, right, who have I got here? Well, I've got Justin Robinson. Okay, well, I don't need anybody in that position. That's it, right? Finish. So now I got my young kid from Milton Keynes, Chris Tyra, who's played in Europe and been around. And, hopefully he's sitting there thinking, well, if I can get this right, they might not need another 6'10" center. But that's on him. If he turns out to be the wrong guy, that's on him. He's got the opportunity. He's sitting in the seat. He can keep the seat or he can give it up. That's his choice. And that's how we should treat every British player.
I agree.
So I don't know if it answers your question, but I know from where I sit, I would love to be in that position where I don't need that, I don't need that, I don't need that, I just need these two.
Yeah.
And off we go.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, I don't think it's a case of the talent's not there. The talent is definitely there.
I
the talent is definitely there.
Yeah. But it's interesting to hear a perspective of, like, from a coach, because we don't get to do it all the time.
Listen,
so yeah.
I'm not going to mince any words. Jules is the same. Jules is on our team now, right? You all know Jules, lovely guy. But Jules could have been sitting in that position 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we gave him the opportunity. No, I'll play in Slovenia or Slovakia or anything but here. But he's back home now, right? And now maybe, but he could have been 4 years into my system, understanding what I'm trying to do and be that bit better for it. And I think, that's a big thing, that's a big thing.
Definitely.
So obviously you touched on players staying here, building their legacies, being with family and stuff. Why, obviously, if you could like encompass that into one thing, like why should elite British players stay at home rather than leave?
Well, I will start by saying that obviously players have a short career and they've got to earn as much money as they can earn, right? And nobody has any bones with that. Nobody has any bones with that at all, and I think they should do. In terms of elite players, a lot depends on who, where, and what. I'll give you an example. Sam Stiller, right? And I'm going back into the archives. Probably the best shooter we've ever had, right? Yeah. Sam and I grew up together, great guy. Played in Israel in the top league. But it's quite clear in Israel, season starts in September. Once we get to January, we'll start paying you September's money.
Wow.
Jeez.
When we get to February, you might get October's money. By the time we get to May, you're already owed X amount of months of money. So you can't walk away, right? If you sign with us next year, when you come back, we'll pay you this year's money. That's how it works. There's no bones about it. Phone Sam, he's on Facebook, he'll tell you. So I'm an elite British player. I want to go and get whatever thousands of pounds it may be. Is it guaranteed? Is it for sure? Where is it? Okay, it's in France, Pro A. Okay, that's good, especially with the social services situation there, where you can be paid through the summer. But that's a good situation. So I would actually take you to the airport and wish you well. But if it's some of these other funky places, I might say, well, why do you think about this? Why do you think about what this could do for you? Can you earn something decent here? Can you be at home? Can that help you create something for your future? If I'm 23, maybe I'm not want to think like that. If I'm 29, I might want to think like that. Right? So it varies, But you can talk to the guys. You can talk to Ashley, the guys who all played in Italy and so on and so forth. How they feel that would be like playing there when they've been playing there versus how they might feel playing at home and what the differences might be for them. My big question would be, should I take less money to play at home? That's an interesting question.
Yeah.
There's only two answers. No, I'm not going to, or yes, I am.
Yeah.
So, no, I'm not going to take less money to play at home. I'm going. Well, if everybody does that, who's playing at home?
Yeah, no one.
Right? If everybody said, no, we're all going to take less money to play at home, that could be interesting. Right? Or some version of that. So I'm not here to tell elite players what they have to do, they have to do what they think is best for them. But we, BBL clubs, we want elite British players if we can get them. We want to try and treat them right. We want to try and do the right thing. Are we going to get it right all the time? Probably not. Can they help us get it right? For sure.
Sure, yeah.
I've leaned a lot on Justin. Justin, Justin has a bugbear. We have to practice the day before every game. Well, before that, we used to say no. We used to say practice, take the day off and then play. No, you got to play. So that's it. We always practice the day before game. You know, we have to learn other things from other places. You know, and the British players who've got that experience can help us. You know, but we need British players to play at home. I mean, we do. So if all our best young ones are going to the States, all our best old ones are going to Europe, who are we playing with? Yeah. Jeez, I might get a game. You might get a game. You know?
I'm ready, mate, whenever.
I'd like to say I'm ready, but I'm not. But, you know, it's a really difficult one. It's a really difficult. So if you remember what I said at the beginning about if it's to be, it's down to me. Yeah. So can we now get some British players to think to themselves that actually, like Dustin did, I can help create a situation that makes me okay. You know, and if we could replicate that everywhere, we would be a really good league of British players. You know, but I mean, it's a tough one, and I don't think anybody should be criticized for whatever decision they make on that. You know, I don't think so. I think that the guys have to make their own decisions, and to some extent, coaches have to make some of their own decisions. You know, but we, you know, as an overall, we all have to be better at what we do. You know, training has to be better, preparation has to be better. Our mid-level British players, we need to get them to the next level as quickly as possible. You know, I had a conversation the other day, I don't know, somebody, I think a coach from the States put something on Twitter about, you know, kids taking 300 shots a day or something. I'm like, Lavelle Cook takes 750 shots a day. A day. You should all be taking 750 shots a day. Every kid that's playing basketball takes 750 shots a day. You know, and if you do that, where will we be as a, you know, oh man, they shoot the ball in Spain. Oh, they shoot the ball, you know. Yeah, they do. They shoot 750 a day. How many you shoot? Well, I just took 100, coach. Okay. How is that going to work? You know, how is that going to work? So it's interesting. I mean, this is where the game is deep. You know, the game is deep. Talking to some of the NBA guys on our team right now, they don't practice in the NBA. The NBA doesn't practice. They've got 82 games to play. They've got no time for practice. You know, it's all about workouts. You know, speak to Fab Floyd now. He's doing workouts till the cows go home. You know, he's back home now because they want to work out. It's about workouts. Yeah, we can walk through practice and talk about practice, but nobody's practicing. Yeah. It's hard workouts. You know. So yeah, the game is varied. You know.
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a good perspective to hear from your side. Yeah, there's you've said a lot of stuff that I've not thought about before, actually. Sure. The whole thing about staying home and you know, like what's best for you? Do you leave and make less, or do you leave, make more, stay home and make less, but build your brand? There's yeah, it's interesting. Mo, how are we doing for time, by the way? Before we get chucked out again.
We've got like about 12 minutes. Well, we're on the last question now anyway, so we're nice.
Yeah, the last question or two is good. Yeah, I mean, there are lots of those kind of issues that need to, and that's why I think we should talk more. You know, we should talk more and we should communicate more, and don't let people wage us against each other. You know, we're not waged against each other, because you know, the more we're waged against each other, the more those people don't have to give us fair funding. Yeah. You know, it's simple. Yeah, it's simple. You know, the more, they start, I know guys say that, look at them. Yeah, when they're ready, and we're never ready. Don't let them do that. We're all on the same side. I don't care what part of basketball you are. You know, we don't talk much about the referees or the officials or people who sacrifice the stats. And can you imagine our game without stats? And look, all these people running around the country giving us stats. We complain, oh, where's the link? Where's the link? You're going to do the link. You're going to help volunteer do a link. You know?
Right. Yeah.
You know? I mean, I didn't have to go. I did a game a couple of weeks ago in the Lynch Trophy. Oakland's against somebody. Thames Valley, I think.
Thames Valley.
Yeah. So we just played the night before at Surrey. And I got a call there, you know, emergency, can you help us out? Well, you know, it's a half an hour, 40-minute journey for me. Yeah, I'll come and help you out. You know, why not? Right? Because if I was at home, I would have wanted to watch the Lynch Trophy, right? I was loving watching the guys in Solon and all the guys. You know, I love it. So now we can't have a commentator. Do you want to come and help us out? Of course I'm going to come and help you. And I enjoyed it. I loved it. You know? But that's what we should all be doing. Not come. So, oh, we got a stream from Oakland, but there's no commentator. Oh man, look at that, they got no commentator. Why? Go and do it yourself. You know, and
Right, yeah.
damn right, that's exactly the attitude we should have to make it happen. You know,
sure. I agree.
But yes, well, we shouldn't wait. We shouldn't wait against ourselves. We shouldn't wait against ourselves.
Yeah, I agree. Before we finish, do you have any questions for us or anything you want to say?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of things that I would ask you guys is you know, how the game as a whole, and I don't mean necessarily just BBL. I mean BBL, NBL, women's basketball, junior basketball, the kids going to the States, the kids going, you know, everything. You guys on the other side, i.e., not necessarily, you know, embedded in a club or whatever, you know, how that game looks to you. You know, I'm always talking to people in the street about how the game looks to them. You know, what is it that comes over to you? What aspect comes over to you about the game?
Yeah, I think it looks a lot better now for me than it did, let's say, even like 5-6 years ago. I think the game is a lot more visible, and obviously part of that is with, you know, social media and easier access to content, easier access to like personal stories, whether that's, you know, someone doing an interview or someone just tweeting about, you know, they're playing in Wyoming or something at junior college or vice versa in Slovenia. I think I get a bigger sense of cohesion now within British basketball than I did before. I think a lot of people are a lot more open with sharing stuff, whether that's experience or like the practical side of it, X's and O's. I see a lot of coaches on Twitter, for example, sharing, you know, like just tweeting like plays or like, oh, look, here's this conference, or, you know, join this thing, because like what you touched on similar earlier is, you know, if people volunteer and help, that's what's going to help grow the foundations anyway. So to me, like I say, I think the game's a lot more visible, it's a lot closer, and I think people are a lot more proud to play in this country now, and they're really trying to build their own brand, and in turn build a brand for the league. And I guess lastly, I think there's a lot more opportunities now as well, and that's come from years of people plugging away, like you said. You know, whether it's helping out with volunteering or whether it's playing or recruiting or coaching or whatever. I think, it's just, for me, kids can do a lot more now, even in the professional ranks in the BBL. You know, being able to play at home, that was probably wasn't possible a while back in terms of like playing here and making, you know, good money and playing in front of family. So I think, overall, I think it's in a lot better state for me, personally anyway. Sorry, Mark.
Good to hear. That's good to hear. Yeah. How's it coming across?
Me, obviously the quality of basketball was great, you know, across all boards, but it's more the pride and camaraderie. Yeah, wow.
Camaraderie.
Damn, yeah. That's
fellowship, baby, fellowship.
Anyway, I can add that out. That's cool. No, I'll leave it. But it's the pride. Like, before, you know, not a lot of people will talk about them playing at home, or, you know, whether it's the players themselves promoting their games or their personal brands, or, you know, even the physio, like your physio Cassian, you know, he's a great physio, by the way. His hands are magic. Pause. His hands are magic. Like, because I went uni with Cass, so like his hands are magic. Pause. But yeah, like all the pride, everyone's British basketball to grow, and it's nice to see. It's definitely nice to see.
I mean, that's right, and I'm glad that's the kind of thing that's coming over, and I think it's important. You know, I think the more of that camaraderie that you're referring to, that we can get together, you know, I think, you know, we should feel free to ask those kind of questions, you know, of each other, and feel free to reach out and say, you know, I want to know about this. I mean, people contact me all the time. You know, I mean, obviously we can't help everybody, but people contact us. Can we help you with some stuff for the games, or can we help you with this? And if we can, we will. I mean, my people always say, Vince, you just brought somebody else in. I'm like, yeah, we, you know, get them in, show them more things, you know, and we should do that. We should, you know, I love to see it when I go to Surrey and I see all, you know, 5 of them doing social media, or 8 of them doing that, or you go to Newcastle and it's amazing. They help, you know, all the volunteers at Cheshire. It's incredible. Even Manchester, when they were in that terrible gym the other day. But, you know, it's just great to see all these people who love it, you know, and we should reward them by contact and information and sharing. You know, we should do that. But if I wanted to get one message out, it would be that, you know, don't be afraid to ask. You know, if you see a conversation out there or something going the wrong way about our sport, ask somebody about, yo, why is this actually happening? Is this real, or are we just spreading rumors? You know, because our game has gone beyond that. You know, our game is at the point now where we can really take big steps forward. I mean, you know, if we were lucky, let's say, imagine if we got through our group in the Euro Cup. Imagine if its government funding is everything it's supposed to be. Imagine if we got onto a big TV channel on a weekly basis. Imagine if the pandemic went away and we could actually all meet up. Where would the game be? We would be so far forward. Well, you know, we're not far away from those kind of things. We're right on the doorstep of those kind of things.
Definitely.
You know,
I agree.
we should stay positive about the game. You know, definitely.
I definitely agree. I think lastly as well, like you mentioned this earlier, but also like when it comes to like you know, criticism and or giving feedback and stuff like that, I think people also are a lot more open now to hearing you know, when things don't go well. And I think that's a big part of growing the foundations as well, like being able to listen and learn and just
definitely. I think we have to, you know, if we haven't listened as much, we should listen more. We should be open to criticism. I mean, you know, people look. I mean, you only need to go on any of the football forums after a game, and somebody's conceded I mean, I feel sorry for Adrian. I'm a Liverpool fan, as you know. Look at Adrian, poor old Adrian.
Have him, mate. Have him. Off my hands now. Yeah.
People are going nuts. What has he done? He hasn't done that bad. But you know, it's just the way of life. You just take it on the chin. You don't take it personal. You can't take anything personal. It's not personal. Yeah. You know.
Exactly. Yeah, a lot of gems in this conversation. I feel like time just flown by. What, we've got 3 minutes left.
Definitely. This is great, man.
So,
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
No, my pleasure. I mean, I used to have a TV show a radio show in Milton Keynes. I used to be on the breakfast show from 8 till 9, and then about 2 minutes to 9, they used to play the music from Kung Fu. You know the series Kung Fu, with Grasshopper, old Grasshopper, and then we used to have something called Vince's Nuggets. You know, and then they would take the music, you know, into that Kung Fu music, and they say, Vince, you know, you got a nugget for us. And then I would say, yes. I would say, for today, you know, I'll give you an African proverb, which says, go as far as you can see. And when you get there, you will see further. Then the news would play.
Drop the mic.
Share that with you.
That is wicked.
That's a good one to end on.
Yeah, we really appreciate your time. Obviously, you know, wish you all the luck in the world this season and beyond with your ambitions and stuff. And yeah, just great to hear from someone that's passionate about the game and trying to grow it, you know, with as little time as he has left, as you said. So hopefully you stick around for a lot longer than you know, than you expect. It'd be great for British basketball.
Thank you very much. I really enjoyed it, you know, anytime.
I'm glad you did, man.
Cool. All right, fellas, I need to go eat some dinner.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Keep it going, right?
Appreciate it. Yeah.
All right,
sure.
take care now.
Take care, man. Bye-bye.
Take care. Thank you.